the day wound down with the GP2 sprint race. It was a bit of an anticlimax, I think, not because it's a sprint race, but because it takes place immediately after Formula One qualifying, and therefore it doesn't get the attention it deserves from the Formula One paddock and everything associated with the Formula One paddock. But it should be put on record that Richie Stanaway won that race. He's another driver we've had on this channel several times, and we had him on this channel after he had that horrendous accident at Spa in the World Series 3.5 car when he came down on a curb and broke his neck, broke his back actually. And we interviewed him when he was in a high collar. He basically lost that year of racing. Last year it was a recovery year. He's racing Porsches and World Endurance and other bits and bobs. But this year he's back driving for Status, which is the new graduate team from GP3, run by David Kennedy and a few other friends, and he's driving as well as ever. And Richie Stanaway, to put him into another context, is a driver that Rob Wilson, who we know well on this channel as well, who's worked with a lot of different drivers, has always rated as one of the best that's ever gone through his hands. Very, very coordinated, supple inputs, short corners, just does it. All the fundamentals are right with Richie. And I think a lot of people wrote him off when he had that quiet year after the accident, but here he is driving for Status, driving for a new team in GP2. Okay, yeah, he finished 7th in the race on Saturday, the feature race. Had a few issues like everybody else, most other drivers, but he blitzed it from the front row of the grid. Again, he wasn't on the pole, that was Rafael Marchiello, but he took the lead off the line really and was well in front going into turn 1 and was thereafter never headed, just pulled away remorselessly, drove an impeccable race. Marchiello finished 2nd, a bit disappointing for him I think, but he was probably relieved at least to get a podium finish after starting from the pole today and the front row yesterday, P2. And 3rd, I've got to say, I was very impressed with Sergei Sirotkin, who drives for Rapax, and finished 3rd. He hadn't really done much in GP2, finished a lot of races, but then did well yesterday and was a strong P3 today, pushing Marchiello quite hard towards the end of the race. All the quick guys, the Van Dorns, the Rossis, Pick and so forth, were stuck in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th places where they started on the grid, nowhere to overtake. And it was quite interesting to watch Stoffel Van Dorn in that situation, because he wasn't ever going to pass Rossi unless Rossi made a mistake, and so he would just keep dropping back and then accelerate and then just making up ground, trying to set fastest lap and put pressure on Rossi, and then he'd hang back a bit again and just have fun with the car that way. What else can you do? So that was that, and we then went back to the paddock area after that, to the Formula One paddock when things had quietened down. That's when I had a nice chat to Lewis about how he felt before he went out for that final Q3 run, and bumped into Sergio Perez and Pastor Maldonado and a few other friends. But the hard luck story, I think, apart from Daniel Ricciardo's GPS problem on the Red Bull, was Carlos Sainz, because he actually did a great job to qualify 8th for Toro Rosso ahead of Max Verstappen, but he's now starting from the pit lane, and not only starting from the pit lane, but he's starting from the pit lane on the prime tyres he used in Q1, so he's going to be well off the pace in the early, well, off his own pace in the early phase of the race, and that's because he missed the red light calling him in for a weight check in Q1. And he missed it because it's a strange pit lane entry, of course, at Monaco, and he had his head down playing with the speed limiter at the time. And as he said afterwards, if I didn't see the red light calling me in, then there's something wrong really, because why would he miss it? And you know, he would never in a million years not do it. So there's something wrong there probably. It's not the first time that's happened. Maldonado had a similar thing in Brazil a couple of years ago. He was doing something in the cockpit, had the head down, missed the red light. I suppose you argue that a rule is a rule, but I think it's kind of harsh for Carlos, after all the work, everything that's been done, to have to start from the pit lane. I think it's disappointing for all all the Spanish fans who obviously aren't getting much out of Fernando Alonso at the moment. There are a lot of Spanish fans, Formula One fans. Carlos has driven very well, hasn't made the mistakes that I certainly thought he might make given his style of driving. He was really good all weekend. Anyway, that was the Carlos Sainz story. And Romain Grosjean, of course, has a penalty as well from a gearbox change, which is unfortunate for him. But after that, it was a question of, we were going to go into the pit lane again to have a look around, but there was so much loud music stuff there. I don't know where that's coming from at Monaco. The pit lane after qualifying Saturday, to me, should be relatively calm and quiet. The boys, mechanics, all working to repair the car. Well, they're not all working, but doing what they do. All the data stuff, acquisition, cars are in parc fermé, of course. But there should be an air of calm about it, to some extent. And there isn't. It's just all this loud, incredibly loud club music, which hip-hop, whatever it is, which you don't really need, especially at a place like Monaco. But anyway, I suppose a lot of people see Monaco differently from me. I see it in the light of Princess Grace and To Catch a Thief and Cary Grant. Does anybody see it differently from that, I wonder? Nah, not possible.